Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Healing for the Soul podcast. We have a special guest and co host, Sue, with us today, and she is one of our coaches. She's another one of our coaches at Soul Healer Institute, but Sue also has her own personal private coaching practice that she does. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell us a little bit about who she is, what she does, and how she helps others. And we're going to get into some juicy conversations today. I'm super excited to have her here. So welcome, Sue. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
I am super excited because I love to talk. So my name is Sue Pancio. But you can call me whatever. I've been called Pinocchio, Pocahontas, whatever. I don't care. So as Heather said, I am a coach with Soul Healer Institute, but I have my side business, which is helping parents navigate the challenges of having a neurodivergent kid, either with ADHD, autism, more ADHD because I'm extremely familiar with that. I have it. I have 2 teens with it. They actually both have autism as well. And so I kind of got into it because when my kids were growing up, there was nothing. And I went through a lot of struggles and pain and feeling like a failure. And so that's kind of why I started it, because I just didn't want other parents to feel that way. And there was nothing out there at that time.
Yeah. So I know like you and I are, because, we've been connected for so long. I know that we have a lot of aligned viewpoints and even experiences, even though they're different. And so what are some of the things that you found in your journey of just trying to navigate this situation where maybe you're different than other people operating? And it's, to my bias, it's my personal bias, that I think everybody is on the spectrum a little bit. But some people can just manage it a little bit better, or hide it, or go around it. They found things that work for them, because I think me and you both agree that everything is an individualized journey.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah. What did you on your journey to figuring out like what worked for you? What were some of the things that what were some of the things that you were being told to try? Like what were the more mainstream stuff that you were being told? Like what was being pushed onto you?
That I was doing everything wrong. So I was being told, just say no more. You're too lenient. Be stricter. You have to have a routine. You have to have a schedule. These are the reasons that you let your kids walk all over you. You do this and this and this. And I think that was the biggest thing, because they're like, parents, we should be united. We're all in the same team. We're all struggling with the same things. And everybody has advice. Everybody thinks they know your situation and know what's going to work. And they're often not nice about it. And they make, instead of, they think they're helping you, but instead they're making you feel like shit. Like, I felt like a failure. There's so many times I just cried at night because I'm like, I don't even know what I did. I just had these kids. My first kid was, and you're a first time mom, and this kid is not following anything in those books, and nothing is working. And I remember just sitting in the basement one time when we were trying the cry it out theory, bawling my eyes out because I couldn't be there and my husband was taking care of it. But that's what you got to do to make your kid sleep through the night. That's what, and they didn't know my kid. My kid can outlast anyone. And they did. And I think my husband finally was just like, okay, I don't know what to do anymore. So I think that was the biggest thing is going to people so desperate for help and for understanding and getting the opposite. I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, getting advice that wasn't helpful. Or, and here's the thing, it's very similar to like there's a lot of science out there. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of research. And I think that all of them, because of officially for something to become something like a fact, enough people have to experience the results, the
Yeah.
same results. But even then, it still does not mean that it's going to work 100% of the time, or that it's going to help you navigate, whether it's weight loss, dealing with some sort of mental health issue, or something on the spectrum, neurodivergency. It doesn't matter. Everybody has these unique experiences, and everybody is not going to be able to treat those things with one specific thing. That's why there's so many books. That's why there's so many studies. And so for people to come at parents and say, you have to do it this way, or not just parents, but like I said, for people to come at you when you're trying to navigate your physical health, and they're trying to say, you have to do it this way, this is the only way you can be a healthy individual. All of that really creates way more stress and guilt and shame and a frustration for an individual when they're feeling like they're doing the things that these professionals are telling them to do, and it's not working. And I know that me and you, and that's why you're a coach with us at Soul Healer Institute, as well as, because I already know what you do as an ADHD parenting solution coach. We both come at that angle of, we've got to figure out how you can work best as an individual, mm-hmm. and get you to where you need to be based on who you are, and helping you change perspectives and intuitively guiding yourself through and finding your own answers. And I think we both really heavily align on the being in the business of thinking for yourself. And I think that that's where that's what was the most helpful for me, and where I saw a lot of my own clients having success, is I might have given them some resources, or some, hey, this study says this, or this study says this, you can look into these things, because I do think knowledge is potential power. But I think when we place dogma, or if I try this and this doesn't work for me, there's something wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the stigma that me and you particularly are really passionate about breaking, that idea that, oh, I tried this and it didn't work, so I'm the problem, or my kid is broken, or insert whatever it is. Like I said, this idea, or this concept of trying what the professionals say and it not working, and then it coming back to you feeling like a failure, or that you're broken, is happening in a lot of different areas of life for many people. And I think it's a really important topic. So getting into that, what are some of the things that helped you? What are some things that maybe you ended up doing that you feel where you finally broke out of that box, where you finally took matters into your own hands? What was kind of the turning point, like the catalyst for you there?
Okay. I tell this story, and I know that it sometimes shocks people, but I think I remember it so clearly. I think my kid was about 11. We had just had a massive fight, whatever incident, trying to get them to go to bed or do whatever. I'm not even sure. And I just know I was laying in bed crying, and I was thinking, I don't know what to do. And my first thought was, I'm going to leave. I just want to leave. Then I'm like, you know what? I wish I was dead. Then I wouldn't have to deal with this. Like, it would just be done. Like, it would be someone else's problem. I'm so tired of it being my problem. And then I'm like, this kid is never going to accomplish anything. They're never going to be able to do anything. I should just kill them. And then I'm like, okay, you go through these wild thoughts. And if anybody's watching this, please don't report me, because I didn't kill my kid. And then I didn't, like these.
Well, and I want to just say really quickly, I think a lot of moms are going to be able to relate to that, and if they don't relate to that, I would be very shocked. And maybe they don't, I don't know, like, it would be my opinion that they don't feel safe to be honest about it, because I had those same exact feelings after I had my daughter. I Mine was more so I was so scared that I was going to like mess her up. So I needed to give her away, or somebody needs to take me away because I'm not fit for this or whatever. And it's really just all of that postpartum stuff. And I've also heard that it's not that uncommon for that postpartum depression and that postpartum anxiety and that postpartum guilt to carry on past infants.
I was going to say, can you have postpartum when they're 11?
Yeah, I've heard, like, because I remember whenever I had just had my daughter and I was a new mom, I had a group of friends over that were also moms, and they had kids of many different ages. And when I was just, it just kind of took over me, and I was like, looking at my daughter, and I was like, I love her so. And I said it out loud. I was like, I love her so much, but I feel like I've ruined my life. And I saw all of them. It was like a weight lifted off their shoulder because I said something, like I broke an elephant in the room. Like I finally said something that they've never heard anybody else say or be honest about. And they were like, oh my God, I felt the same way. And sometimes I still do. Like I really struggle. Like the older she gets, the less she listens to me, the more I feel like I'm messing up and I just can't do this. I'm not fit for this. And I've never heard somebody say that. And I don't know, you just made me feel a lot better by just saying that. And then they made me feel better because they were, kind of validating the experience that I was having. So I definitely can relate to what you're saying, like wanting to just die yourself, or I'm just going to drop them off at the fire department, or I'm going to
that
take
was a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look,
totally get it.
Like 2009 was when Facebook was starting to get big and whatever. And wasn't interested. So that was a year after my second kid was born. And you should see some of my posts. I was just like, there's a law in that Nebraska, you can drop kids off up to 15. And I'm like posting like, I got a van. Anybody that wants to take their kid to Nebraska, I'm dropping mine off. And here we go. Like, and people would say, oh, I love your posts. They're funny. They're so relatable. They're this and that, because as moms, we're not supposed to say we hate our kids. We're not supposed to say that we wish we could kill our kids. Like we could throw them out the window. It's
them up and ship them off.
Right. It's taboo. It's taboo. You should,
you need to be a good mom. You need to be a good nurturing lady, very feminine woman. Take care of those kids. Love those babies.
Yep.
Give. And it's the same with service in the service industry. There's a lot of parallels in parenting and just any type of issues that a lot of humans are facing. There's always this narrative that society is pushing onto us that we need to abide by. And when we can't abide by it, some of us, if we're lucky, we can, try to crank all those feelings down in our brain and just put a fake face on and, sip some wine and pretend everything is all good. And I know that was a huge experience for my mom's generation. My mom's generation was that generation that would just shove it all down and drink some wine and just keep pushing forward and just allowing that narrative to take over. And then that's why I think that my mom's generation, that whole generation, I think their kids, they were just told, this is how it is. You just have to do it like this. Just don't ask questions. Just keep. And I think our generation, like somewhere along the way between your generation and so down, we started questioning these things. Like, I can't just fit in this narrative. I can't do it. I can't pretend to do this because it's killing me and it's making me more frustrated. I can't control my emotional reactions. So now I have a troubled relationship. My marriage is in trouble because we can't parent the same. One wants to overly discipline, one wants to not discipline at all. And it's just so confusing. And there's so much frustration and it's dividing people because we can't just think for ourselves. We're trying to listen to what everybody else is telling us to do instead of just navigating through our own ways. And so, how I do at Soul Healer Institute, because how we connected, you came to me a few years ago and was doing the program. And so, how I am whenever my biggest thing is helping individuals get back to their intuition, get back to their center so that they can make the best decisions and get past that decision fatigue, and also find a way to identify those judgments and illusions and those narratives that they've placed on their entire experience so that they can do that differently. And I know, I'm curious, I know we talk about it some when we connect personally, but I would love for you to share here on the show a little bit about your process for helping parents go from, I hate my life, this kid, I'm about to drown the kid, like
Yeah.
I'm about to lose it, and did you experience like marital issues in the midst of all of this, trying to figure that out? Was that a big issue? Did that cause? Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of your clients do, people that come to you, I'm sure that that's in there too. That's part of it. It's like, I can't get along with my husband. None of us can agree on anything. The house is chaos. We're in disarray. So what kind of take do you bring clients through for that? Because I know we have something very similar. We have similarities in common with our programs, but I want to hear your take on the process that you bring people through.
Well, yeah, definitely if you're both not on the same page, and it's so common, my husband, pure Italian, raised in an Italian family, and we're Gen X. So we're the abandoned generation. Like our parents, I remember calling my mom and saying, this kid is always following me around. Like I can't get a moment's break. What's going on? And my mom's like, I don't ever remember playing with you.
Yeah,
right?
That's my mom too. My mom was like literally abandoned, like at 13, like her mom was like off doing acid.
Yeah, they didn't know where you were.
No,
They didn't know what you were doing. Years later, we would be at Christmas and telling my mom some of the things, and she's like, I never knew any of that was going on.
And then my mom, love her soul, she's passed now, and we had I'm thankful, after my dad died, I went on my own healing journey. And because I went on that healing journey, I was able to salvage my mom and I's relationship. And I got a good last 4 years with her. But growing up, my poor mom, and poor me too, essentially, because as a kid, you don't know any better than what you are experiencing. Right. So if your mom's not emotionally available, she's abandoned you flat out, even if she is physically there. So my mom broke generational curses, but she just did what she could. And so she never physically left me. Like she never physically abandoned me. I always knew where my mom was. She always knew where I was, but she couldn't emotionally connect to me because her mom abandoned her, like physically and emotionally. And she was all on her own. So dealing with hard emotions, it was very rare for me to see my mom cry. I feel like I've seen my mom cry maybe 3 times my entire life because she was just not emotionally available to do so. At least for me, her kid, because our kids are always super triggering. My kid triggers the hell out of me because now I'm trying to break that cycle of not being emotionally available for her. And obviously I'm thankful I had my dad. He was very emotionally available for me. So I am able to do that. Like, as each generation goes, it seems like things are getting better and we're learning more and we're doing things differently than our parents did. But it's still very triggering for the mom to do things that the mom didn't receive as a baby, especially if they're not doing that inner work. And before I started doing my inner work, that's why I was so afraid to have my daughter, because I was like, I can feel myself emotionally backing up from her. I can feel myself doing that. And thankfully I found my healing modalities and did a lot of my inner work, and that helped kind of remove a lot of that. And so I know you do a lot of that similar work. So continue on with your process that you kind of work through.
I think my biggest thing, and I guess being an advocate for, is your child is a person. And it's really weird and sometimes hard to explain, but there's that parent-child relationship and, the authority above, and you have to be doing this, this, and this. And you don't realize, like, parents think that their kids come out and it's kind of like they're a blank slate and you mold them, and however you mold them, is the way they're going to be. You think you're going to mold them into this, what your vision of a perfect child or whatever. And especially if you have a kid that is neurodivergent, because there's no molding, like, whatsoever. But your kid doesn't come out as a blank slate. They're a human. They have your genes. They have everything. Everything is there. And it's all potential until they are born and they start learning things. And so I'm a big proponent of, like, I felt like my light was crushed when I was little. Like, you just keep, every time you did something, a little bit more got chipped away. And that was a big turning point because I saw that happening with my oldest. I saw their brilliant, beautiful personality be slowly chipping away. Part of it was me, but a lot of it was when they got into school. Don't get me on that. And so the biggest thing, so many parents, when I work with them, they're like shocked. I didn't really see my kid as a human. Like, kids need dignity too. They need respect. They need all of that stuff. You are the first person in their life that is going to teach them what it's like to interact with another human, to what a relationship is about. So if you're treating them like crap, they're going to think, hey, all people do this, or people of authority do this, or whatnot. And it took me a long time to figure that out, to finally see my kid as a human, a person that had thoughts and feelings and opinions. And even though everybody say, oh, that's a mini me, and looks, and there's so much like me, they're not me.
Yeah. And, the thing about that, like, feeling like your kid is their own individual, their own human, something that I hear a lot about is parents trying to make their child into what they think they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And all that inevitably can do is, because I know my mom pushed a lot of narratives onto me and to, like, what I should do and who I should be. My dad tried, but he learned early on that wasn't going to work. But my mom, she really, for her, like, if I didn't want to do what she wanted me to do, she would pull back from me even more. She would punish me by not connecting with me anymore because I wasn't like her enough, or I wasn't following in her footsteps enough. And I see that. I see that in people around me and other families that I'm connected to. If the kid is not doing what the parent initially has a vision for, then the parent is kind of like, well, screw you. You're on your own. Then figure it out yourself. If you don't want to act like me, if you don't want to be like me, if you don't want to obey me, then figure it out on your own. And that is one of the hardest things, I think, to navigate as a parent, whether you have a neurodivergent child or not. Just being able to recognize your child as their own individual, and it's not our jobs as a parent to nurture them into anything other than feeling safe to be themselves.
Exactly. And it crushes my soul when parents do that for whatever reason. And I have, my kid's going to be 20 and they're here at home. They're going to taking college. And my kid was so scared to turn 18 because they thought at 18 they had to leave and they had to be an adult and go off and and they weren't ready. And I was like, absolutely not. One of the things, the first 4 weeks of helping a parent is breaking those beliefs, breaking those expectations. Who the heck made it up, right? Everything's just kind of made up in a fantasy anyways, right? Like, who said that your kid has to sit for an entire meal and eat everything on their plate? Like, who said that? Right?
Exactly.
I got pushed back because my kids would run around. They had their own little table. my husband and I would be eating and the kids would be like, oh, they'd get up and down and whatever.
No,
Guess
and
what?
I feel the same way. I remember, getting any type of government help, they will only help. It's the same. It's very similar to like the whole, if you are a parent and your kid's not doing the thing that you want your kid to do, and then you just like let them go and tell them to figure it out on their own. Kind of like our government being our parent, because anytime like I would try to get support with like WIC or anything like where the government would provide something to help me financially, in terms of like with my daughter, they wanted to know all my information. They want me to take all these classes and take all these tests that are saying that I'm going to feed her with me and this way, and do this and do that this way. And they really push these agendas onto the families. And then again, it's just coming right back to, oh wow, no, we don't all sit together for family meal times. And my daughter doesn't always want to eat what I'm eating for dinner, so I make her nuggies or whatever. And she eats in the living room and I eat in the kitchen, or I eat in my bedroom. And that's a problem, apparently. But like you were saying, all these structures, these narratives, these ideas, these routines, these schedules, these techniques, these tools, all of them are made up.
Yep.
All
Somewhere
of them
along
are
the
made up.
line, generations decided that these things were going to happen, and then everybody just kind of followed along. And so you got the people that were just like, well, my parents did it.
It worked.
So
Yeah, it worked for them. And then
how many times I have parents tell me, well, I guess a parent kind of traditionally, like, this is what my parents did and I turned out okay. And I'm like, did you? Like, my generation is this most screwed up. Like, we had to figure out, we are the ones that had to figure everything out on their own. And when I first started parenting, I'm like, well, nobody helped me with this. Why should I have to like lead you and give you every single step? Figure it out. Right? Like, when I realized, God, if somebody had just guided me a little bit, that would be great. There's a Dr. Russell Barkley is a big guy with ADHD, and he has a video where he's giving a speech, and he says something about parents always trying to kind of fill up their kids they think that their kids are just, we can mold them into something. And that's what parenting is to make this little human into something that we consider a good human. And he said, no, it's more like you're a shepherd and you watch over your flock and you're going to guide them, but you're not going to try to turn that sheep into a pig. Like, no matter how hard you try, you cannot turn that sheep into a pig, because that's not what it was meant to be. And so every sheep is an individual, and we should be looking at it like that, not like my job is to make this into a good human, whatever that's defined as. And if I don't, it's my fault.
Yeah, whatever that's defined as in your mind, because a good human is relevant to that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this idea that we're supposed to mold our child into something, and that it's our responsibility as parents to make this person a good person in society, which again, good is relevant, right? And I think that adds an extra layer of pressure to moms. I know for me, like, I am so worried sometimes that every single thing that I do matters so much to what my kid's going to experience in the future. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But either way, it adds this layer of pressure, and then it makes it even harder for parents, because every time I punish her, I feel a type of way about it. I feel guilt or shame or frustration. And if I don't punish her, I feel like I've done something wrong. Either way, I feel like I've done something wrong, because I'm either, like you said, letting her walk all over me, get away with murder, or I'm being too hard on her. I'm being whatever. Like, I am setting her up to where she thinks that people are going to treat her badly or whatever. I'm creating fear in her, or I'm creating a bully in her or whatever. And it feels like as a parent, with all this data and all of these narratives, being pushed, it feels like you don't know. You just never know what you should or shouldn't do as a parent. And for me, the biggest thing that helped me release and heal a lot of my postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety is really removing the illusions of the narratives, the judgment, and the perspectives. Because when you can remove the judgment off of everything that you're doing, then what can happen is you can start to just look at each individual situation for what it is. And then on top of that, if you can reconnect with your intuition and get back into alignment with your own center, and so you can heal that decision fatigue and stop going outward to figure out what you need to do and start going inward. Because whenever I have a clear evidence, and I'm not perfect, sometimes I'm operating up here in my head and I'm doing the narrative that we're taught to me because it's just automatic. Sometimes it just happens. But I always look at those moments when I fall into those patterns as reminders of the truth. Whenever I do operate from my heart, when I am able to drop down into my heart and see through the lens of truth and take away the judgment of the situation, the situation always turns out better. Whenever I'm able to shift my perspective, remove the judgment, and operate from my heart and operate from, I'm a human. This is my first time living this human life. This is my first time in this body. This is my first time being a mom. Whatever the case is, just as it's their first time living as a human on this earth, in this body, in this particular being, as well. And so when we start to realize this is all of our first times here, even if, I believe in past lives, I believe in this, but I don't remember them. So what if it's true or not that I've lived 1,000 times? Does it matter if I don't remember it? No, because it's still, if I don't remember something, this is my first time being here.
Yep.
And I'm doing my best that I can. And so is it for my daughter, even if she's supposedly lived 1,000 lives. Whether that's true or not, it's still our first time. And we don't remember. But when we're operating from that non-judgment and we're operating from this heart space, and for me, the only way that I've been able to do that is just reconnecting with my intuition and building up trust in myself. Because when you can stop, this is a flex for me. I don't Google things really anymore. Like, my kid did this, or this is happening in my belly. What do I do? That's a big flex for me.
Yeah.
I don't Google these things. I don't wonder anymore because I feel so connected intuitively. If my belly hurts, I'm not like wondering, what did I eat? Or am I doing something wrong? Should I change my diet? Should I do this? And I was, for a long time, I would overthink my health so bad that I was, a serial dieter and constantly changing everything that I was doing to try to fix and solve all my problems. And then now that I'm like more intuitively connected, I'm like, oh, my belly hurts. It's just digesting something and I'm going to have to poop later or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just know what's happening now and I'm not overthinking it. I'm not sending myself into different restrictive diets or sending myself to the hospital over it. And I think that connection back into your intuition, being able to think for yourself and not overthink, or when we can let go of those judgments and narratives that society has placed on how we should parent or how we should take care of our kids or how we should take care of our bodies or how we should do this or that, and we start coming back into our center and we think for ourselves, I think that can alleviate a lot of the guilt, shame, frustration. And when we just start to look at what works for us, what do I need as an individual that maybe society hasn't figured out, because it's me. I'm a unique individual. I have a unique fingerprint and a unique voice for a reason. Like, I am different here. And same for my kid. My kid's got a whole separate fingerprint and separate voice and separate identity and separate ways of working than I do. And so how can I get to know her better and figure out what helps her the most, and then utilize that instead of trying to put on my experience and her experience with these narratives that might be somewhat working for other people, even if it's not working for me. And then I'm the problem if it's not working for me.
Yeah. And I call it redefining parenting success. So I help the parents go through and redefine what they think is their values. Like I think we all agree as a society we have to have some kind of rules and whatnot. But in your house, you're allowed to have your rules, and most parents build what they consider a successful, a good parent as these certain things: smart, get good grades, captain of the football team, all this kind of stuff. Like, and that may not be what your kid wants. I mean, and I know that we think a lot about, oh, well, we've experienced this, so we know. But we don't, because we don't know that same experience is going to be different for everybody. So your kid may experience it and come out differently or think differently about it. And so doing that and then getting back, so redefining that success and then getting back to that instinct. And I say, like, I'm like, your kid, you know what to do. You're the expert on that kid. I'm not. I can help you bring that back up so that you can now feel like I think parents just get stuck because they're so afraid they're going to do the wrong thing. And that this little tiny moment is going to ruin the kid's life forever. And you and I know that life is all about change and life is about growing. And if you do the work, you can change, you can get past things, you can see things differently. And that's part of the things I try to teach parents too, is like, where you are now doesn't mean where you have to be later. Where your kid now is now, like my kid's 11 and I'm thinking this kid's got to go because they're never going to accomplish anything. And here I have never thought they'd driving, never thought they'd go to college. They're in college, like all these things that this brief moment in time, we are struggling. And as parents, we get so fearful and we start going into the future because they don't have what they need now and they're never going to. And we got to get out of that. We have to get out of that and start looking like, yeah, so I'm older than you. So I've experienced a lot more things. I've been a parent longer. So I have some experiences that you don't, but it doesn't mean that the things I'm doing are right for you. And the same thing I tell the parents. Your kid's been on this earth for 4 years. Okay? 4 years. That's it. They haven't even scratched the surface of what they're going to experience and know and whatever. So how can you think that you can decide at 4 this path the kid's going to take?
Right. And
then if you are so tunnel vision that you can't shift out of that, if your kid comes and says, hey, like how many teen movies are there where, the kid's born and the guy's like, you're going to be a football player. And the kid's like, I'm an artist. And the whole movie's about the parents or just look at those Freaky Fridays where the parents switch and they realize that, oh,
you have your own life.
Right. And it's so amazing. Like my oldest is so insightful, has been forever. And I just love it. And I had made this post one time about, parents. And if you feel like you're walking on eggshells around your kid, come talk to me. And I got reamed by all these like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, like telling me if my parent ever said that about me, blah, 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 blah. And my kid got so pissed and went on there. And I'm like, don't start an internet, whatever. So I did make another video and I say, listen, until you won't understand this until you become a parent. I know I didn't understand it. You don't look at your parent as people. And so until I became a parent, I didn't understand a lot of the things that my parents went through and a lot of the things that they were trying to do for me. And I'm lucky because my oldest does. Like they went on and said, my mom is like one of the best moms. They listen to me. They let me do what I want to do. They encourage me. They support me. And And I get it. I get how hard it must be for her to raise a kid, and especially one like me, like they acknowledge that they weren't the easiest kid, and
Yeah.
but we have, so that has caused such a great connection. And I say to the parents, like, you didn't have your kids to just raise them to be something. Like, you want a relationship, you want to have a connection. And all these older adult children who have cut off ties with their parents, like, you don't voluntarily decide you're going to be an orphan. Like, you don't just say, there's a reason. It's because you haven't been listening and hearing and valuing your kid as a person. And so they just said, I'm done. So
Well,
that's
and
what I try to get across.
you said something really valuable there too, that the kids don't see parents as people either. There's a massive phenomenon of kids not seeing parents as individuals and vice versa, parents not seeing the kid as an individual. And I think that that's what you're saying. I think a lot of, tarnished relationships and cut ties is coming from this. The kid doesn't understand the parent's not understanding the kid, and neither of them are working towards building a connection or communication. And
Yeah.
as a parent, as somebody who's been in both situations, I've been a kid who had a mom that I saw her as like, she needs to do better, right? I never really, it wasn't until I was older that I took in account everything she went through as an individual. But, so as a parent, I still feel like it's my job to first show Shylin, my daughter, that she is her own human. And meanwhile, I think that our relationships act as a mirror for ourselves. And so I think, and, for each individual. So I think if we are able to project out, hey, I see you. I see you as an individual, and I want to nurture you as an individual, your hopes, your dreams, not my hopes and dreams that I didn't get to accomplish or that I think you should pursue. I want to nurture you as an individual, and I see you. And when you can project that out into your relationship with your child or even your husband or whoever the case is, when you project this, hey, I want to see you as an individual, what it does is it creates an opportunity for them to mirror that relationship or that connection back to you, because that's exactly what I did when I healed my relationship with my mom. What I did is, we had spent so much of our lives bickering and fighting and disconnecting. And finally, this is after my dad died, I just came over to my mom's house one day and I said, Mom, I love you. I don't know how long we're going to have in this earth together. I don't want to fight anymore. And I just said it very genuinely. I was so serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw her face and her whole body language shift, because it was almost like for the first time, I saw her as an individual with feelings. And it was almost like she could tell in my voice and in my sincerity and my energy that I was no longer holding her to unrealistic expectations. And when she felt that, and she felt finally just accepted for who she was, where she was, and everything she came with, and everything she had done, all the mistakes, all the flaws, she could feel that in my message. And when she felt that, it was an instantaneous healing between mine and her relationship. And she immediately started mirroring back the same respect. And all of her unrealistic expectations she had of me immediately fell to the ground. And I watched it. I felt the energy shift, and our relationship was forever changed after that. And it was such a beautiful experience. And that's a lot of what any time that I've ever had clients with relationship issues that come into my realm, we apply that same type of process, that forgiveness process, that acceptance process. And then we figure out, how do we want them to treat us? And then we say, I will go first. I will go first, and I will treat my husband this way. I will treat my mom this way. I will treat my child this way. When I go first, I will lead. And when you project what you want to be experiencing and how you want to be treated out onto your relationship, the law of the universe's ways of its working is going to mirror back to you. You're going to get that same treatment back. And of course, I don't like to place dogma on anything, so I'm not going to sit here and say that this is going to happen 100% of the time, but I've
No,
seen it happen a lot. I've seen it happen a lot. And
same.
I still, even in those situations where it didn't happen exactly like that, I still felt the shift. And it maybe didn't look exactly the way my relationship with my mom looked, or whatever, but it still has positive benefits when you just project out into your relationships the way you want to be treated. A good possibility is going to be that you're going to experience that same respect back.
Yep.
It's going to be mirrored back to you at some point.
Absolutely. And everybody, I tell parents, like, everybody just wants to be seen and heard and valued as a person. And yes, kids don't normally see their parents as people, and it really isn't until they get older that they can. But if you've been having that, if you've been seeing them, so you said something earlier about parents being on different pages and things, and my husband and I were on absolutely, we were in different books. We weren't even on the, like, no same page. We were reading the different book. And um and I got frustrated, and I just finally was just like, screw it. If I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. I'm tired of trying to explain to him about ADHD, and that a lot of this stuff that's happening, isn't because the kids are just trying to be jerks. And I mean, yeah, there was a lot of times my kids were just being jerks, but that different things that were happening were based on biological and things like that. And so I changed. I decided I'm going to start doing this new stuff. I'm going to start working on myself and how I view my kids and how I talk to my kids and how I just overall parent. And the changes started happening. Slowly my kids were responding. And I was like, this is great. So I saw the little changes. And unfortunately, with ADHD, the changes take longer than if your kid was neurotypical. But yeah, the things were starting to change, and there was less chaos, and there wasn't so much tension, and everybody wasn't always angry and that. And I don't know when the shift happened, but my husband just started to see that things were working. And so then he kind of started listening and kind of being curious, like, then now when I said, they're doing this because of this, and him saying, I'm I feel like I'm losing my kids. And I said, do you want to know why? And he's like, yeah. And I said, this is the reason. And and so then and I say this to a lot. I don't want to put everybody, but it's a lot of the dads. But I will tell a dad right up, what's the most important thing for you? To be right, or to have your child in your life, to have a relationship? You're going to stand on this hill, die on this hill because that's what you think is right? Or are you going
Yeah.
to work with your kid, find out what is blocking your kid from accomplishing this, doing this, whatever, and then have a great relationship?
Yeah.
Because the
I
path you're
can
going
I
down
can
now is not it.
Yeah, I can attest to that too with my husband. Maybe it's more common for men. My husband is the same. Like, he will sit up on this hill or perch himself as needing to be right, or like doing it his way. But then once he sees like things actually changing from doing it in a way like, I'm just going to treat her how I want to be treated as an individual and just do my best in the moment, and we have a good relationship, and he starts to follow when he sees the results.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's just how some people operate. Some people have to go first, and that's why I consider myself a consciousness leader, because I believe that, in my definition, a leader is somebody who's willing to do the thing first, somebody who's willing to step out and do the thing that nobody else is doing, or the thing that's not mainstream. And we're going to push back on the narratives. We're going to step outside of the normal box, and we're going to try something new. Because if you think about the greatest people on earth, like, not that they're better than anybody, but like the greatest inventors on earth, or the people who've discovered a whole bunch of stuff, like the Wright brothers or Einstein and so on, they didn't get there by doing what society was telling them to do.
Right. There's
They
always going to
got
be a
there
first
because
time.
they did the thing. Yeah, they did the thing that society was scared to do. And when you do the thing that society or the masses are afraid to do, that is when you make transformation breakthroughs. That's when you change the world. That's when you change. And for us as coaches, and just helping like individuals, even on a small scale, like with Sue, she's helping parents change the environment of their household. And then imagine changing the environment of your household, what that can do for your marriage, what that can do for the success of your children, what that can do for the health and the betterment and the well-being of yourself as an individual. When you can apply something and change your individual environment and create so much space for more amazing opportunities in your life when you do that. And so I love this. I think that this has been a really, really awesome episode, but I think we're coming up on our time. So I'm
I know
going
we could
to
go
wrap
on
us up.
forever because, like the big thing as coaches, that even I have some people that have degrees come to me because when you're in the moment, sometimes you can't see it and you need someone else to see it and guide you. And like a lot of the things that you taught me, I knew, but I needed somebody to like kick me in the pants and say, I'm going to guide you through it, because I wasn't getting there on my own. And so I think that you're right. Like, it's start with you. It spreads out, and you'll start seeing it spread, and it'll go outside your house, into your neighborhood, into your, and I know that sounds grandiose, but I truly believe, and I know you do too, that if we start with ourselves, it does spread. If you can spread hate, you can spread love. You can, so
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, and thank you for all your help, because I knew what to do, but I needed accountability.
Yeah.
And
and that's a big thing. I think a lot of us need accountability, and because I think that's the biggest part. Because like what you were saying, I think that there's a lot of coaches out here, and I think, that is an important thing. Yeah, you might come into my space and there might be some things that you've heard before, or you've read in a book before, or you understand on an intellectual level. But that's what I believe our jobs as coaches are. I'm going to help you experience it. And when you experience it from within, it is forever yours. It's like learning to ride a bike.
Change is hard, and it's constant. Like, people think, oh, I'll do your program and I'll be fine. But
you gotta put in the work. You gotta show up.
You've gotta now you have the tools. Right. If you don't apply the tools, and you're going to slip, you're going to go back, but now, like, I'm rebounding quicker because I have the tools.
And you've experienced it. So like for me, like I was telling you the other day, I think in one of our private calls, even I have these moments where somebody does something dirty, or to me, like maybe they're, talking crap about me behind my back, or they say something mean to me, and it's drama, right? And because I'm still alive, I'm still human, stuff like this still happens to me. Yes, I have not transcended into a whole new world. Like I can still lose my shit, but very quickly the reminder of, hey, you guys both do this stuff, and it neutralizes. When you have tools that you experience over and over again, you get to a place of mastery, and that place of mastery doesn't mean you never have to use your tool again. It just means your tool automatically processes the information and the experience for you, and then you get to experience it different. And instead of letting it take you on this self-sabotage roller coaster where you're self-destructing and you're stressed out, and your health, you get sick because of it, your immune system gets weaker because of it. All of these things don't have to happen anymore, because now you have a new processing system. And when information comes in, you might feel a type of way about it for a moment, but you're going to self-regulate back into what you need to, into where you know the truth is, because you've had that experience.
Yeah, it's like you're not going to plant a garden and then just leave it and expect it to just, oh, I did all the stuff that I was supposed to do. I have it all. No, it's going to get overgrown with weeds. You get, you're always going to be picking weeds out of your brain, because that's the human experience.
Yeah.
It's just a series of problems to be solved.
Yeah. And I think on this path, what noticeably changes, and the path that I'm talking about for, is just getting mentorship, doing the thing that you like, getting support in experiencing the thing that you want to experience, whether that's manifestation, inner healing, or better parenting styles, whatever it is, like getting back in alignment with who you want to be, getting that mentor. And I think the whole point is just having this experience so that you can navigate things. And the path, the whole point of this path is getting you to a place where your problems don't disappear, but the way you ride the waves of the life changes in a way where you are now just an automatic problem solver. You are seeing through that lens of the glass half full. You are looking at every challenge as an opportunity for growth or betterment. And now all of a sudden, the human experience and the suffering and the problems that can come with it, it's no longer an issue. That's really the game changer. It's not that issues go away, it's that you no longer have an issue with the issues. And now you get to have fun, and you get to experience, and you get to evolve, and you get to expand every single time something comes your way, instead of it feeling like it's dragging you into a lower dimension and you get really stuck there, and you feel hopeless, and you feel like a victim, and you feel to your circumstances, and you feel like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the path. It's not that your issues go away, it's your issue with the issue goes away. And it's a whole new experience. It's like experiencing your life like a movie. And it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap us up here. Thank you so much, Sue, for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed today's conversation. If you guys did, be sure to show some love, maybe leave us a review on one of your favorite platforms. Be sure you're subscribed, you're following us, and share this episode, share our podcast with people that you think may enjoy as well or benefit, because that's the best way to support us, is to just word of mouth, refer us to people, share these episodes, share the love, spread the knowledge, spread the wealth. And we really hope you guys are finding value from spending your time here with us, and we will see you next time.
Bye.